How are we? Sluggle McDougal here. It's the 13th of February. It's a Monday before reset in the US, and Blizzard has released its new Mythic Dungeon Invitational Dragonflight 2023 trailer, which in classic fashion shows none of the classes, well, at least very few of the classes you'll actually see in the MDI. So let's go ahead and watch it. I've been really critical of the MDI in the past and it being pretty boring. So this is a bit of a predictions video. Just to get the video started, I think that there is one team that's won just the MDI about, I don't know, 5-6 times before. Wins the world race every single year, bar like 1 year where they didn't. And win the Great Push, and if they don't win it, they come second or whatever it may be. And they seem to be pretty good. Take a guess if you know who I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and have a look. It's pretty classic, so a bunch of dragon riding at the start. You're going straight into the first dungeon, which I believe is a time trial, which we'll be looking at. And it's really life pools. Got the first boss, and straight away we've got what I imagine is a Devastation Evoker. Who, any guesses? Will you see this in the MDI? Absolutely not. No, you will not. Why? I mean, because they're cooldown dependent and they're just not that good, right? Moving on. So they kill first boss. The dragons come down. You've got, I think, what looks like a monk moving up. So we're going on upstairs to go and fight the next boss. Or not, we just go to a new dungeon. Okay, so we've got a shaman there, the Windwalker monk by the looks of things. Guardian bear. A guardian druid. A havoc demon hunter. A hunter. You will not see any guardian druids. You will probably not see any havoc demon hunters, and you will definitely not see any hunters. I don't know who this is. Oh, and a monk. You probably won't see any monks. Or you might see some monks actually. So I mean, with that many DPS, you would think, well, that's a preservation. Will you see preservations? Probably. Devastations, no. So you got the monk again. Okay. The world's greatest dungeon, by the way. This dungeon is just one of the worst dungeons. This is up there with King's Rest. This is up there with Tol de Gore. Terrible dungeon. What have we got? Second boss, Ruby Life Pools. We got a Feral Druid. What's that? Like a Blood DK or something? Maybe an Unholy DK, a Brewmaster Monk, I don't know. Okay, another end boss. We've got a Shaman in there. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I think why we've seen so many of the Evoker specs is because it is their expansion, right? Dragonflight, so why wouldn't they be in there? Got a Boomy there. Will you see any of them? Probably not. Prot Warrior. I think you might see a few Prot Warriors. And then you've got yourself a Rogue. Will you see Rogues? If it's anything like the AWC, they'll probably be in every comp. So yeah. I mean, it's a decent intro for a video. Last boss, Ruby Life Falls. You got what looks to be a Fire Mage. DK. Last boss of the offensive. Another Evoker clip. Alright, so we're coming to the climax. Coming to the end. And there it is. So, I mean, the one thing that is for sure is that half the specs you saw in there just literally are not going to be in the MDI whatsoever. So it's a little misleading. So if we go ahead and have a look at the MDI, we're going to go have a look at the time trials. We're going to go and have a look at the best team, and then go have a look at what the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 best teams are running. And my prediction is that they all run the exact same team. and they all run the exact same DPS or exact same tanks or healers. And if they don't run the exact same, it'll be a variation. It'll be a tweak in the healers, or one maybe 2 DPS difference, but it'll be the same. There'll be 1 or 2 tanks they play, there'll be 1 or 2 healers they'll play, and there'll be maybe 5 to 6 DPS they play, and the rest of them completely non-existent, right? There's a meta. And with that said, to get to the predictions, I think that there's one team in there that's proven itself as the king of MDI, or the king of esports and WoW, maybe just esports in general. This team is completely polarized the sport. They are freaks, they win everything. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Echo Esports. So if we just gotta, I don't even know how many they've won. It's a few, right? Let's have a look. How do we check winners? MDI, how to compete, standings, Hall of Fame. But there you go. And Wunderbear, that used to be Echo, or sorry, used to be Method. Let me repeat. Echo used to be Wunderbear. Wunderbear used to be Method. I think they were Wunderbear for a little bit before Echo was around, because the whole Josh Priest thing. And so these are all same players, right? These are the Gingis. These are the Now Tanks. These are the Mirezes, the Frax. I don't even know who the 5th person is, right? But these are all the same people, okay? It's the same team. And what's the bet that if you go to Raider.io and you go to the time trials for this, that same team that you've just seen won the last 10 events will be the top of the time trials? Any betters in chat? I bet you they are the #1 team. Let's have a look. And lo and behold, there they are, Echo. They win absolutely everything. They've been together for years. They find it very difficult to lose. And I surmise that whatever these guys run and these guys put in, every other team below them copies it to some extent. Maybe Echo's copying the other people, or maybe the other teams rather. Maybe the other teams are copying Echo. Doesn't matter. The thing is that the MDI will have a very, very clear meta, which is designed around speedrunning, right? And you will see it, and you'll see it again. And this is one of the reasons as to why the MDI is so boring to watch, because you've got one team that just completely dominates the meta. And then you've got the same meta, the same teams running the same thing every single dungeon. I mean, they might have a series of 5 dungeons in the finals, and it's the same teams. It's just mirrors. It's like if you were to watch PvP or the AWC, right? And it's RMP, Rogue Mage Priest, into RMP, mirror into mirror, okay? For hours at a time. And the only difference is the map. One's a big map, one's a small map. Whereas in the MDI, it's just different bosses. But there's even less nuance in the MDI because everything is scripted. Absolutely everything is scripted. Sure, they can make bigger pools or smaller pools, and that can give you an edge, or that can put you behind, or use the last here or use it there. Sure, there's an edge there. But the human component to, say, a RMP matchup in PvP is a little bit more exciting than running into NPCs, in my opinion. And I'll give you some solutions as to how you might be able to fix that. But let's go ahead and have a look at. So we've got Temple of the Jade Serpent. Okay, let's have a look at their best run. So they're running a warrior, a restoration shaman, which is a bit of a surprise to me actually, a shadow priest. Bit of a surprise. I mean, I must be out of the loop because I don't see many of these getting played on like streams and stuff, but that just goes to show like doing big keys and doing fast keys on MDI are 2 different things, 2 different ballparks, right? And then you've got Gingy on the cat and then mirrors on the dwarf. Okay, sure, you go to Ruby Life Pools. Can we see what they run here? Let's have a look at their best run. They bring in a Fire Mage. See, now that's a bit of a surprise. And they swap off. So they put the Shadow Priest onto a Feral Druid, and then Gingy. The Gingy goes onto a mage, replacing the Shadow Priest, and then you've got a Shaman, Restoration Shaman swaps out for a Priest. And I mean, they're still keeping the PI, not the PI, the Lust. In the last group, it was the Shaman that has it, now it's the Mage, and then I assume that Zalia or the Priest will give the PI to the Fire Mage. Okay, so keep that in mind. Those are the two. Now let's go have a look at the next. We'll just do the next two teams, right? The next two teams that are closest to them in the time trials. And my bet is that they're exactly the same comp, if not slight variations. Like ever so slight. Like maybe a swap in healer or DPS. But basically the same. Why? Because this is how this esport works. There's a formula and they all just go to it. There's a meta and they just go with it and they run with it. And it's part of the reason as to why it's so boring. So let's have a look. A little bit slower. Exactly the same comp, bar the healer. We saw Zalia or Echo running a Restoration Druid, but it's the exact same comp. Exactly the same. Do you think that the pools are the same? I imagine they are. And the only reason they're running a Preservation Evoker is because it brings Lust. So they're interchangeable, the Shaman Preservation, right? You just run whatever you want. Ruby Rifles, is there going to be a Fire Mage? A Priest for a healer? Yes, there is. I mean, so who's copying who here? I mean, it's obviously the meta for Ruby Life Pools. And they're doing this in under 12 minutes. And it's insane. What did 11 minutes and 17 seconds. Time trials. Echo, what did they do it in? It's 1 second apart. Exactly the same comp, right? Okay, let's just go for one more example, just to drive the message home of how prevailing the meta is and just how boring this is to watch. You go to Perplexed. Okay, these are some big names. This is Divine, Swag, Wolf Disco, some huge names. We go into their fastest Jade Serpent run. It is exactly the same comp. The only exception is that they're playing Rogue and not Shadow Priest. As I said, they will maybe change one DPS up or one healer up, right? That's it. So there you go. They run a sub Rogue instead of a Shadow Priest. Okay. Do they run a Fire Mage and a a Priest into Ruby Life Pools? No, but still, it's the same. It's the same formula. They keep the Preservation for Lust, and then they don't run a Fire Mage. They run a Rogue. So the Rogue takes over the Shadow Priest spot, and now it's taking over the Fire Mage spot. But it's still the same. Still the same tank. Still the same 2 DPS. Still has the healer providing the Lust. In the other teams, it was obviously the Mage, but you're bringing in a class that provides a true Lust and not like drums, for example. So, what I think be cool in the MDI is for you to just blacklist class. And like in the MDI, back in the day, in like Legion, they used to have like a map pool, right? I think I looked at it here. Yeah, so they used to have like a map pool like this, right? So you'd go in and people, there'd be the whole map pool, right? Because they were so big back then. There was like 16 dungeons, 12 dungeons, whatever it may be. It's only 8 now. So they could only practice so many dungeons, right? So that they could then say, well, I don't want to do Seat of the Triumvirate, or I don't want to do Lower Karazhan, or I don't want to do the Archway, and they could cancel out a bunch of dungeons, right? And then obviously the other team could do the same, leaving behind a total of 4 for the competition. They should do something like this for specs. They should honestly do something like this for specs. So say for example, Echo meets Perplexed, right? And they know that they have really good mage players and really good rogue players and really good tanks or healers or whatnot. They know Zalia is really good at Restoration Shaman, but you know, their healer on Perplexed is really good at Priest, and they can just go ahead each time they go into a dungeon, they can cancel out a spec. They go, all right, we know Gingy's an absolute fucking beast at mage. We're gonna blacklist mage, right? So you just go ahead and blacklist it. Changes the composition entirely, right? Imagine if that's a Ruby Life Force. You've got two teams that run mage. You can no longer run mage, all right? So they run a rogue. The next dungeon, they score out another one. They go, oh, what's everyone running? It's Unholy DK or it's Prot Warrior. Score out one of those. So no more Prot Warriors. Then they gotta like decide, well, what are they gonna run? DK or whatever. But the way that the MDI is right now, it's so boring to watch because it's the same teams, mirror into mirror into mirror. And because it's mirror matches, or bar a few classes, my predictions for the MDI is that Echo wins again, because I feel like they're meta defining. I feel like they're the guys that are like at the bleeding edge of this competition, that these are the ones that probably come up with one, the routes, and two, the compositions at the first place. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe these other guys are doing it, but even if the other teams are doing it and they're all just stealing from each other, it doesn't matter. They all run the same comp, bar a few variations in the healers on the DPS. But I mean, as you saw, they're only looking at one or two interchangeable, a healer there, a DPS here. It's not like they're changing all 5 members, right? So with that said, I think that Echo takes it. I think that they go for their 5th year or 6th year, however many years it is. And I think that the MDI has a problem, and that the way to solve it is that you need to be able to have like a blind pick the map, blind pick the classes, or blacklist the classes, something like that. Spice it up a little bit. Because I can tell you what, right now, it's super boring. I don't know, maybe it's just me, man. Maybe I'm talking complete nonsense and people who watch this are like, bro, you're off your head. We love the mirror. It's the competitive, it's the micro pulling and the lust here and that. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what people enjoy. But as a viewer, someone who's watched it from its inception back in Legion, in 2018, 2016, I think that it's become super boring. The only other time it's been as boring as it is now was back in BFA, when you saw double rogue monk and then triple rogue and then like triple BM hunter. So I mean, granted, Blizzard has gone a long way to say you can't stack classes anymore. Absolutely, really good call. They should do the same with blacklisting classes. Just you can't bring rogue, or you can't bring prot warrior, you can't do this, and teams there's a mind game into the teams, because one team will know that who on the other team are good at certain specs, and they'll know that about other teams, and then you can play mind games and you could strategize around that and really like hamstring people and have a competitive edge against dominating teams such as Echo. That's my take. So EU to win the MDI. Probably watch the highlights, probably won't tune into the entire event, and that's my take on it. Peace out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll put my Twitch down below. I might start streaming there a little bit more, and yeah, peace out.